And of course the man far away from Malta on November 23rd was at one point identified by Gauci, but just how that happened is no clean story either. It was all based on one selection made 18 months after first speaking with police, on February 15, 1991. On a first pass over 12 photographs, he found them all too young and selected none of them. Unusually, police asked him to look again and to consider age differences, clarifying he might be older now than in the image. Knowing that there was somebody there he was supposed to select, on the second time around Gauci pointed to this black and white, grainy, degraded image of Megrahi. This photo is notable in looking very little like his other known images, in either face or abnormal hairstyle. It almost certainly is him, and was obtained from Czech intelligence and given to Scottish police. Investigators even had this better quality passport image at the time, in color, more current, and a closer match. But that one didn't have the afro and the intriguing grittiness that made it look a little bit more like Gauci's shopper. This remained the only photo that Gauci had seen of Megrahi until after they started appearing in the news and wanted posters following the November indictments. And he made this selection after many other photo spreads and after picking out several other men as also similar to the buyer. Mohammed Salem, for example, does look fairly like the sketch, but Tony and the facts both agree that he was far too young. Mohammed Abu Talib was about the same age, younger even than Megrahi, and Gauci once failed to point him out. Later he saw the same man in the UK Sunday Times, identified early on as the Lockerbie-bomber. His eagerness to finger Abu Talib as the buyer persisted even after that, even to the point of re-mentioning him after the Megrahi ID. The two men he felt were most similar to the buyer were the one-time police suspect and their final suspect, all details be damned. So Megrahi wasn't the first, but he was the last that Tony pointed to. When he was put in front of the accused himself at Camp Zeist in 1999, Megrahi was the world-famous Lockerbie-bomber. He'd been seen by millions, including Tony, with his brother keeping a scrapbook of these photos for his reference over the years. And even then, all he could bring himself to say was, "Not exactly the man I saw in my shop. 10 years ago I saw him, but the man who looked a little bit like exactly is the number 5, Megrahi." Later on the witness stand, Tony showed that he was well aware of just the discrepancies explained in this video and offered different variations on each point that doesn't line up. The buyer's height was reported as 6 feet or more. This became, at trial, "I always said 6 foot, not more than 6 feet," and in turn became, "I'm not an expert on these things. I think he was below 6 feet. I'm not an expert on these things." And on age, by around 50, he clarified at trial, he meant to say, under 60. The buyer didn't qualify for a senior discount is all he can say. Someone anywhere from 50-ish all the way down to 36-ish. On the date of purchase, his noticing no Christmas lights in 1989 and 90 becomes in 2000, "I wouldn't know exactly, but I have never really noticed these things, but I remember, yes, there were Christmas lights. They were on already, I'm sure. I can't say exactly." The rainfall discrepancy came out poorly as well. It was not raining heavily, it was simply dripping, but as a matter of fact, he did take an umbrella, didn't he? He bought an umbrella. It wasn't raining, it was just drizzling. I can't remember the dates. I don't want to cause confusion. I don't know dates. Apparently in no mood for confusion themselves, the judges called all these close enough to Megrahi and the 7th. And they did it unanimously, as they did on everything. Following the conviction that was based largely on this identification, Tony Gauci was finally able to collect his $2 million prize from the Department of Justice, and his brother to collect at least $1 million for his unclear role, and both were whisked off into witness protection overseas, disappearing from the media. Tony Gauci's evidence, tweaked by the investigation, the prosecution, and himself, was the main focus of a 2007 decision by the Scottish Criminal Cases Review Commission to refer the case for a new appeal. 4 of the 6 grounds of likely miscarriage of justice stemmed from the points made in this video. The first deal with what was heard at trial. There is no reasonable basis in the trial court's judgment for the conclusion that the purchase took place on 7th December. The other 3 refer to points not heard at trial. The purchase of the items took place prior to 6th December 1988. Before Mr. Gauci picked out the applicant, he saw a photograph of the applicant in a magazine article linking him to the bombing. Other evidence, unspecified, likely to be the rewards, which may further undermine Mr. Gauci's identification. That appeal was apparently made to die in exchange for Megrahi's compassionate release in 2009 and was never heard out. If it had been and the Gauci ID had gone, there would be no direct evidentiary connection at all between Megrahi and the bomb or the bomb bag. No evidence he or any accomplice had anything to do with any bomb going on board that Air Malta flight, nor any real evidence anyone put a bomb on there.
We would have nothing left then but an implausible timer fragment that just shouldn't have been there, an unexplained clandestine mission of some sort, and a coherent but glossed over body of clues pointing to the PFLPGC Iran-Syria line, and to London, plus a heap of investigative misdeeds that would grow from impressive to truly epic. No wonder they couldn't allow that appeal to be heard out.